Well, greetings, everyone, and thank you for taking a couple of minutes to listen to this TFMR podcast. I've got on the line a guy I've gotten to know over the course of the last 12 months or so. Once again, getting a chance to visit with Keith Neumeyer, who is the CEO of First Majestic Silver, and he's also one of the founders of First Mining Finance. And it's been a pleasure to get to know him over the last couple of months, and it's a pleasure to also always work with my buddy Dan at Future Money Trends, and I want to thank him for hooking me up with Keith and getting a chance to visit with him. Keith, thanks for taking some time today to visit with me.
Well, it's great chatting again.
Man, I tell you, there's a lot going on, obviously, and it's what's always so much fun to talk to somebody who's really right there, boots on the ground in the silver industry. We've seen silver here in 2016. I mean, it's up 30 or 40% from the lows back late in December. Of course, that was the last time the Fed hiked rates, and silver's gone up, 40%? Now here we are. They're talking about hiking rates again. What are you seeing in terms of global demand for silver, both on the wholesale level, retail level, and what do you think about price going forward, Keith?
Well, a message to the Fed: bring it on. Let's raise these rates and get it over with. And that'll be your buying opportunity for gold, obviously, and silver. So, anyways. We've seen a very good run in the mining stocks and obviously, the metal prices as well. We're seeing a correction now, which is, long overdue. I remember back in May, we saw, a couple of day correction and normally, the summers, quite a slow period, June, July are tend to be kind of quiet months and obviously negative months for the metals and the mining stocks. And yet, we saw a very, very strong, June, July, and then even August, and it's just now that we're seeing this correction. This is the first real pullback we've seen on this sector, and it's really giving a lot of people an opportunity that missed this market previously, to get into this market.
What are you seeing in terms of demand on the physical level, Keith? Are you guys still on track to do about 20 million ounces this year and then sell most of it? Are you seeing strong demand?
Oh, yeah, we don't have any problem selling our metal. We'll produce about 20 million equivalent ounces this year, of which there's about, on a silver basis, that's close to 14 million ounces, or between 13 and 14 million ounces of pure silver. And then, of course, we've got gold and some lead and zinc on top of that to make up that difference. But no, silver is pretty easy metal to sell. There's no effort. We don't need a sales force. It's a liquid metal. It's very much in demand, and as we electrify the planet as a human race, silver is very much a strategic metal, and I've said it 100 times, but I know many people look at silver as money or precious metal, but I look at it as the most important metal, for the human race.
Let me ask you this question, because I've been shouting this from the rooftops quite a bit lately. Everybody looks at that gold-silver ratio, and they say, I can't figure out how this could be. How can it be 70 to 1 when it's historically been 10 or 15 to 1? And I lay that at the foot of the COMEX. I think because price is determined on derivative trading, not actual metal trading. That's how you get such a skewed gold-silver ratio. What do you think of that idea?
Well, it's an unfortunate thing, right? The whole paper trading that we, fall under today was created, to allow the commercials, and the miners, a way to buy and sell the metal and hedge their needs. The big consumers of silver, need to hedge their requirements. If you're Sony or someone, who are gobbling up, millions of ounces of silver, you need to try to blend out your costs over, a period of time in order for you to, properly manage your costs, producing whatever you're producing. And the miners, the same thing, to blend out their selling prices over a period of time. And, but unfortunately what's happened is, the banks have taken over the trading of this paper, and then they just, trade scads amounts of paper. The silver market trades in a day, a billion ounces, and then we only produce 800 million ounces a year.
Yeah.
So, how do you trade a billion ounces in a day when you only produce 800 million ounces in a year? So, where is the, proper price setting mechanism? Well, there is none, and it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is the system that we have to deal with until hopefully one day the system finally breaks. Now, your stock has done particularly well this year, speaking about First Majestic, and all the miners have just gone like crazy really since the middle of January, but we've had a little bit of a pullback here. Do you think that's a good thing?
Well, I do, because I travel around the world, and the stocks, should never have got to the prices they got to originally. Was First Majestic trading at $3, at the end of last year or early this year. That's ridiculous. It should have never been there in the first place. But there was such a hate on the industry, and no one wanted anywhere near mining stocks or gold or silver, and it was just a completely ignored sector. And then all of a sudden, people started to want to get into the sector. And the mining sector is very small, so it takes a very little amount of money to actually move the sector. And then we saw an explosive move that took stocks up from up by 300, 400, 500%, and it was exciting to see. And I think it's just an indication of things to come. And one of the things that I heard from institutions around the world during that big, huge up move was, geez, we missed this. We didn't predict this at all. And how do we now buy these stocks when they're up, to these levels, and some of course did, but and everyone's been waiting for this correction. It's finally here. We have institutional meetings coming up over the next couple of months, and our schedule is just full, to the brim, and which is, telling me that the interest levels are coming back, and this sector's back in the beginning of the early stages of a bull market that could go for several years into the future.
And we've seen First Majestic pull back. That was such a spectacular run over a period of maybe 7 months, from 3 up to 19, but now it's back to 12. I would imagine that gets the institutions pretty excited about a chance to buy the dip.
Yeah, no, it really does, and there's we're getting taken out of the GDXJ, because our valuations just went so high. So it is causing some there's a whole group of miners. I think it's about 12 miners or something being taken out of the GDXJ at the end of the week, this week actually. So of course that affects the trading, and then those. Mm-hmm. Stocks that are being taken out of the big indexes, that's the huge mining index, are obviously trading under the trading less than some of the others would be trading. So once that all rectifies itself, I'm sure things will be fine. But I think the market, look, silver went to $21 an ounce, from 13, and it looked like it was going a lot higher. So there was a lot of expectations that silver would just keep going. Silver did correct. It's now, slightly less than $19 an ounce, which is still great. Our cash flows at $19 an ounce are fantastic. So we're happy to, see $19. But I think we're going to end the year, probably closer to $25 an ounce.
If it does, I would think all miners are going to rebound considerably. And it was an interesting story too to see some of these central banks, which the logic of a central bank printing their currency to buy equities, we can probably discuss another time, but isn't it interesting to see some of these central banks moving into the mining sector as well?
Yeah, it is, and I'm not sure if I don't think I've ever seen that before. We've seen, I've seen on the internet that the Swiss bank and the Norwegian bank, are shareholders of First Majestic, and not just us, of course, but a handful of mining stocks. I think, because there's such a great performing sector, when the metal prices start to move, and we'll see that now, we're just starting to see the beginnings of this next bull phase, and who knows if it's going to be another 5-year bull market. The last bull market in metals was 10 years long, and we saw gold go from $250 an ounce to $1,900 an ounce. So from the low of $1,050 an ounce, go, and that was an 8 or 9 times move. So 8 or 9 times move, from 1050 takes us to some pretty big numbers, obviously. So, if that actually does happen, these stocks are just started this move.
Yeah. One of the companies I did want to wrap up by asking you about, though, is one that you run called First Mining Finance. A lot of folks refer it to as a mineral bank, a company that has acquired, I guess, some properties, if you will, that maybe were in distress or inexpensive prices over the last couple of years. And now we're moving into this phase where some of that value is beginning to be recognized. Now, I saw an announcement a couple of weeks ago that a couple of projects that you acquired, if we could call it that, out of Mexico are being handed off now to an exploration company. That fits what First Mining Finance has always been all about, but I'm not sure a lot of people understand that. So could you take a couple of minutes and explain how this works, why it's happening, and what this means for the future of First Mining going forward as a business plan.
Sure. We went public, after a couple of years of me putting together a number of different projects. And we went public in April of 2015 with 18 projects. And we hit the ground pretty hard. We acquired 8 companies over a 13-month period. And I think, there's no one in the mining sector that's ever done that before. We took, advantage of the extreme low valuations in the mining sector. We're putting a gold portfolio together at less than $10 an ounce in the ground, which is just ridiculous that we're able to actually do that. And we, with 18 projects, that none of them really had defined ounces in the ground. Of course, we know there's mineralization there. Some have been drilled. Some actually were old mines. So we know there's metal in the ground. It just hasn't been advanced. They haven't been drilled. But the assets that we set out to purchase were very, very advanced assets, and we were able to acquire 14 million ounces of gold over a 13-month period by buying these 8 companies. And now we've got 28 projects. So we're looking for partners, and a group approached us, a company called Silver One. The trading symbol is SVE, and I think the U.S. symbol, I think they're trading on the bulletin board. I think it's SLVRF, if I'm correct. And they approached us and bought, our 3 silver projects. And these projects were in First Majestic's portfolio. But, First Majestic, as everyone knows, is a large silver producer. And we didn't have time to go and explore these projects. So we sold them to First Mining Finance. And then, as First Mining Finance's model is to find partners. And they found this group, Silver One, to advance these projects. I know from speaking to management at Silver One that they're going to drill out these projects and hopefully advance them and develop some serious ounces, and that's what our expectation is. So it's going to be great for First Mining because we have a big stake in in Silver One, and we have a royalty as well if it does ever get into production. And of course, it's great for Silver One investors because it's very early days. The company has only been trading for 2 weeks, so it's very, very early.
So if the projects pan out, First Mining Finance still has a stake in them, so that's a good thing. And this is all part of, really, I guess, the business plan as you set it up, to have these projects get some demand from other companies that want to take them on and make something of them.
That's exactly what we set out to do, and we'll continue to do that. With a project base of 28 assets, that's a lot of assets, and some of them are obviously more important than others, and we'll deal with different assets in different ways, but I think shareholders of First Mining can expect us to continually work on monetizing the portfolio to bring benefit to First Mining shareholders. And of course, we're looking for good partners, and I think the Silver One group is an extremely good, experienced group, and have a really good shot at advancing this company, or Silver One I'm referring to.
Well, Keith, it sounds like things are right on track. Now, if we can just get prices to finish this corrective phase and move forward, we'll just have to see where we go here with the rest of the year, interest rates, and what everything's going on in the economy and with the Fed and the election. We've got a lot of noise out there, but I would imagine you feel pretty confident that silver prices are headed higher as we round out the year.
Well, I think investors, have to be patient, right? When you go back and look at the move, the bear market, or the bull market I was referring to, I said we had a 10-year bull market from 2002 to 2012. I can tell you, and maybe many of your listeners weren't around, or maybe they weren't invested in the market at that time. But if they were, they had firsthand experience that the market did not go straight up. It went up in gyrations, and there was times during that 10-year period that everyone thought it was over, but it just turned around, and gold and silver just kept going. And so these corrections, this is a new bull market. Absolutely, 100% for sure. As far as I'm concerned, anyways, I don't think I'm wrong. I've seen these markets before. I've been in this industry for over 30 years, and I've seen bull trends, I've seen bear trends, and this is definitely the beginning of a new bull cycle. But these corrections are going to happen, and that's the time you have to try to I'm not going to tell people to trade the market, because sometimes that you could lose your position because, but what you should be doing is looking for good companies that are run by good people that have good assets, and just be very careful on what you're buying and just follow the right people. And I think if you follow the good business, or primarily the good management teams that have created wealth in the past, I think you have a better shot at increasing your investment if you follow good groups.
I agree 100%, and there's no doubt that First Majestic and First Mining Finance fit into those categories. Keith, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to get an update directly from you, and I look forward to speaking with you again sometime soon.
Okay, well, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
A new silver company for investors, with Keith Neumeyer agreeing to become a major shareholder. Luke Norman, co-founder of Gold Standard Ventures, is the new chairman, and the company has acquired 3 former First Majestic silver properties. To learn more about this must-own silver stock, go to futuremoneytrends.com/silver1. That's futuremoneytrends.com/silver1.